Hail, Internet! It's Paul. It's Matt, the Dork Lords. We are here today talking about the third episode of Season 2 of The House of the Dragon. The episode entitled The Burning Mill. We open with the event named in the title, The Battle of the Burning Mill. Two feuding factions are arguing over a boundary dispute. The Blackwoods are Team Black. Thank you for having that in your name, so it was easy to figure out.
That's right.
The Brackens are Team Green. After the Bracken soldier points a sword at the Blackwood soldier's chest, we cut to that Bracken soldier with his sword shoved through his neck. Hundreds lay dead. Big fight. Over what started as like a move those rocks that way kind of a boundary dispute.
Sure, of course.
We end with, I would say, an arguably ill-advised secret meeting between Rhaenyra and Alicent in the Sept in King's Landing. Rhaenyra takes a gigantic risk in order to talk with Alicent one-on-one. FYI, this meeting was created by the showrunners. This was not in the source material.
Correct.
They argue. Rhaenyra is incensed that Alicent would lie about King Viserys' intent just to put her son in power, but it becomes clear that Alicent firmly believes that Viserys changed his mind on his deathbed. He changed his mind. He changed his mind. She says Viserys named Aegon as the prince that was promised. Rhaenyra informs her that Viserys hadn't actually changed his mind. He was just repeating the Song of Ice and Fire, naming Aegon the Conqueror, not Alicent's goofy Aegon.
Aegon the Goofier.
Aegon the Goofy. Alicent, I think, realizes her mistake, realizes that Rhaenyra is telling the truth, but says it's too late.
Yep.
The wheels are in motion. War is inevitable. Alicent hurriedly leaves the Sept Hall, and Rhaenyra's face tells us that she has now accepted the grim reality of the war to come.
Yes, she has.
Credits. All right. All that said, Paul.
Yes.
What'd you think of episode 3?
Enjoyed it yet again. I think it often boils down to that one scene that really makes it for you if you like an episode. Like obviously you want a number of different characters and scenes to be good, but I really enjoyed that scene between the two of them. I did hear I've heard some criticism in terms of the negotiating power of Rhaenyra, at least the talents, I should say. Because people are like, you're not giving her anything. You just go there expecting her to give it up, and
that's
the
true.
writers
she didn't seem to have a plan. Yeah,
the writers actually, did have her say, okay, yeah, we'll surrender then. Yeah, you'll surrender, and that'll be it. No, I feel like though, for me, that Rhaenyra, the reason why you get this, no, I didn't. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. That's what she was thinking. She's like, you're gonna stop lying now, right? Because people are dying. Okay, are you gonna stop lying? I think that's what Rhaenyra was thinking. So that's why she needed to really confront her, because she's like, how could she let this happen? It's like, look where it's gotten, So,
right.
So I think she really needed to try to learn why Alicent would do it, and the real, once she started to think, okay, maybe what Alicent was saying is true, that my father lost faith in me, that hit her.
Right. Oh, yeah, you saw that, right, that in the moments when it seemed like she could tell that Alicent was telling the truth. So before she realized Alicent was just stupid, she was like, oh my God, Dad really did reject me in the end, didn't think I was queen worthy. And on his death, decided to go with the son. But then she's like, oh, no. See, you're stupid. That's what it is. You didn't ever know the story. Well, Prince, it was promised. You're an idiot. It's just, I agree. I like the scene too. And it really does make a lot of emotional impact to have these two former best friends and then also, related through this marriage and everything.
In the place where they used to bond.
Right, and face to face. I mean, if you were to do it more realistically, in terms of like a real life, two rulers want to try to meet to hash things out.
Yeah,
They would send emissaries or something, right? My emissary will meet with yours and we'll talk.
Exactly.
And that wouldn't have had the same weight. It would have been more realistic, but it would have been less dramatic.
Yes.
So I get it. I'm good with it, even though I'm like, that was not a good idea for her to just walk in. She had no idea. I mean, she could kind of rely on a little bit of what she knew of Alicent, but Alicent, she doesn't even necessarily know.
Well, she didn't bring a knife, so.
She did. She brought it. The first thing she did was draw a knife. That'll make sure she doesn't call any guards.
Yeah, that's right. Now let's talk.
No, but obviously she had some idea because she read the note. The note was a conciliatory one. Rhaenys gives her some idea that, like, I think Alicent might be willing to talk, but still, it's a big ask to just walk into town and then hang out and be like, okay, and then tell Alicent to her face things that she kind of doesn't want to hear.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you're like, look, I came to talk to you because I'm sorry, and I'm willing to give everything up, whatever. You know, no. As you said, it's like, no, I'm here to be somewhat antagonistic to you, to be like, you're an idiot, and shake you. But anyway, it was cool. It was a little bit forced, but the actual scene itself was worth the time. So good on it. I liked the scene quite a bit. Yeah. And as we see in the trailer for the next episode, telling Alicent that was talking about Aegon the Conqueror, not your Aegon.
Yeah.
It has this effect on her, which is great, right? So she's now like, oh my God, I have done this terrible thing. I've set our families against each other because I believed what I wanted to believe out of this story, and now I've really doomed a lot of people. Like, that's really cool, actually. I think that's as opposed to just being like, no, I'm right, and you're blah, 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 blah. She believes it.
Yeah, now that
like, I take this in.
Now that Aegon has truly taken on the role of king and has really become committed to it, in a way that is already out of her hands now. Yeah. Then that creates a conflict rather than her trying to pull him back. Otto already introduced the whole. Oh, you think that's what you actually think that's happened? That your father really wanted you to be? Yeah. You're already the first person. Now she can go in there and say, no, you weren't.
Right. But then at this point, again, as she said, it's too late, right? So
it's too late, right? So rather
the boulder is rolling down the hill.
And he's shown what a terrible leader he is. Like, oh, let me get my stupid friends, to be guards, and then like, wait, what? Chastity pledge? What?
Yeah, right. There's that little moment of like, oh, you weren't kidding. I mean, okay, right. And then, no, I was kidding. Let's go to the brothel. Okay. But yeah, we see Aegon wearing this ancestral armor, and he's got that Valyrian steel dagger. Yeah. And he's all the trappings. He's looking himself in the mirror in the armor, and he wants to ride a dragon into battle.
Yeah. Like, so he's clearly vulnerable to the romance of war.
Yep.
And correct. Not like Alicent and Rhaenyra, who understand the folly of war.
Yeah, he's all in on playing fantasy king, essentially.
Right.
Also, really, really savage to his brother. I mean, almost. Yes. I was almost unnecessary. I was like, where did that come from? Because the brother didn't necessarily embarrass him in front of his friend. When Aemon is like, hey, maybe you shouldn't go to war because we need you here. We don't want to endanger the king. So I don't think. I mean, maybe that was what inspired Aegon to be so mean to his brother. But I'm not sure. He was very terrible. He made him walk out naked as he taunted him about being
I think he could have gotten dressed. I think he just decided not to care.
Right. He was kind of like, I'll take some power back here and be like, I'm not embarrassed. Screw you.
Yeah, basically.
But yeah, it was just anyway. There's like no love lost between those brothers in that moment. They were like, woo.
No, yeah, and Oof. I think they already established too in many ways in previous episodes that they're not close. And they're
right. It's true,
they're
but
not. It's interesting that they show that side of Eamon there in getting that emotional comfort where he actually talks about his feelings and the things that he's done wrong, the things that we've seen. I think it was you who was wondering whether or not he would reveal to anyone that he, or at least in the family, that he didn't mean to kill, his cousin. But he revealed it with her. So, that's the place where we see that other side of him. And yet, that may never happen again now.
Yeah, right. Because in some ways he had discovered the House of the Dragon version of having a therapist. Yes. Hey, I want someone I can talk to, but that won't say anything. And I can just bounce ideas off of them and tell my feelings, but I don't have to feel like I'm being judged, and I don't have to feel like, oh, someone might die because I say this,
Before The Sopranos. So there you go.
Before The Sopranos, right. Yeah, it was a very Sopranos-y thing. Yeah. So we also have, plot developments in that we see that, as you had guessed, Missaria is now Rhaenyra's counselor.
Yes.
And then Larys has now become the whisperer to Aegon.
Aegon, yeah.
So we have like the two advisors have now been declared for each side.
And she's a good counselor there. She understands and is able to draw out exactly what what needs to be done. She's she has the understanding of the court there, but she also, I think they're gonna start to trust each other more, and she knows what's going on, so it's good to see scenes with her.
And she did say that, I have a way to tell you see Alicent, but the way is fraught, I believe is what she said, which is like understatement, but There's one place where you can, if we get you in dressed as a nun, you never know. People don't look at your face when they think you're just a nun.
Even though she's got dragon blood, she's no flying nun. So it's a good thing she wasn't,
Or is she? Is that connected to that series?
Maybe. Yeah, she could just like
Sally
fly
Field. On a dragon or a hat. Either way.
Yeah.
Another interesting scene was when Helena forgives Alicent for her child's death.
Yes.
And I assume that forgiveness is for having the tryst with Kristen Cole that led him to neglect his guard duties. I guess.
But,
or is it more just generic, like, hey, I forgive you for creating this culture wherein our families are endangered at any given moment? I don't know. Maybe.
Right, yeah. Or no, like maybe she was drawing pictures. We would have seen, the two of them in a church, and
right.
Look on Alicent's face, like I've forgiven you for doing all this.
Here's an interesting question. Next episode. I assume Alicent won't mention any of this, but what if she was like, I just talked to Rhaenyra and she told me, whatever. Like, what? You would imagine there'd be the people at her court would be very upset to hear that she was right next to Rhaenyra and didn't tell anybody.
Sure.
That she let her just come and go as she pleased. That would be very bad, I think, for Alicent. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Yeah. I don't think they need to, but they might. Who knows?
Yeah.
The other thing I want to point out is, was it Lord Strong? That scene that once he gets to the castle there, Simon Strong, Harren Hall, and that was great. That was
and just the atmosphere of Daemon walking into this completely, effectively empty castle.
Yeah.
But that was, it was
But
great.
This like little dinner party they have, like, yes, I guess you have taken this castle.
Yeah, right. So it seems.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And then when he says he's preparing for an invasion of the Iron Throne, and he says something like it's a large chair. I forget how he put it. Yeah, no, all that stuff was gold. It was really interesting, and the way it was shot was really cool.
Yeah.
And I think, without saying it, without coming out and spoon feeding the thing, we had the fact that Harrenhal is on the edge of the lake.
Yes.
The God's Eye is what it's called. And then we saw very deliberately tons of those weirwood trees are all around that place. And in fact, they even linger on a shot that shows that the weirwood tree roots have grown through the foundations of the castle. I think suggesting that this, these are sacred trees, and these have now kind of taken over the castle. Hence, when he has this dream, this prophesizing type dream and everything, like it, I feel like they're suggesting that being in that place has led him to first this vision of, I think his vision of that killing his kin has put Rhaenyra in a weakened position. Then he apparently sleepwalks outside to a weirwood tree. When he wakes up, I think he's awake at that point. We get this character from the book who we meet. I don't know if she's named in the show, but Alice is Alice Rivers. She is a seer like Helena, basically, and she prophesizes Daemon's death. She says, "You're going to die at this spot," which is true. Spoilers, book spoilers. He's going to die at the God's Eye, and he's going to be killed and be killed by Aemond at that spot. So, which I kind of feel like is there's the very early line, Rhaenys has a line right near the beginning of the episode, which she says, "There is no war so hateful to the gods as a war between kin." And I feel like that's kind of the mission statement of this episode. Because we open with the Blackwoods and the Brackens. They're these neighbors with certainly a lot of shared heritage that are killing each other over a seemingly superficial boundary dispute, which obviously there's generational hatred that goes back there.
Sure.
We then cut to Rhaenys is giving that line about warring between kin over the grave, holding the twin knights, the two Erics, kind of showing again the effects of kin fighting kin. And Rhaenyra takes to heart that line. That's what inspires Rhaenyra to say, I need to risk everything to avoid this war with my kin. Then the fact that we have Daemon with this dream, and then this prophecy, which is going to come true, that he's going to die there. And while the show doesn't say it in this episode, he's going to die by his kin, Aemon. So there's a lot of that. The war between kin being something to be avoided at all costs, I think was really a central theme of this episode.
Another thing about that meeting that with Sir Strong there is they really set up the whole "Your Grace" thing. And,
right.
It's like he's claiming the kingdom there.
Yeah,
so that's obviously going to be important. I mean, you could say too that the scene, the vision that he had with young Rhaenyra. Perhaps, is meant to balance that with the whole, look what you've done. I had to clean up after you. Perhaps that's to balance that. The thing that Rhaenyra feared is that, he can't follow her, and that he wants to claim the kingdom for himself. So,
right. And this is coming on the heels. I mean, in terms of where we last saw him. He was having that argument with Rhaenyra, saying like, "Oh, actually, Viserys only named you queen to spite me,
right? And
I really should have been the king." So then we see him. He's having people call him Your Grace.
Yeah.
So it does, suggest that he's at least, maybe he's talking about we're a team, but it doesn't seem that way. It seems more like call me king, but
right.
But also, it's just great. It was really interesting to be like, we have to get Harrenhal. It's the key to the Riverlands, and the Riverlands is the key to Westeros. It's really, really important. And then there's like 6 guys there,
Yeah.
sitting around the table. Like, all right, you want this giant castle? I guess we're gonna need to fix it. It's gonna cost a lot of money to fix it. Okay, whatever, And then meanwhile, Kristen Cole is on his way there. Like he's also bought into the idea of the Harrenhal. We got to get that, and so they're riding. Even now. So obviously, you're gonna have a situation where they arrive, and Daemon will be there with his dragon, and who knows, all hell seems to be breaking loose at that point. And we get the idea too. They're pretty clear to talk about. Rhaenyra doesn't want to use dragons. Her advisors are like, just bring out the dragons. Let's just do this. And it's very much of a dragons equal nukes kind of a scenario, right? Mutually assured destruction. She's like, look, I'm going to trust that the Russians, Alicent, is also thinking, hey, if we bring out dragons,
their kids
we'll hurt
too.
ourselves. That's right.
If to paraphrase Sting.
To paraphrase Sting, exactly. But what was that song? There was another, Cold War. It was a Christmassy song, but it was like, what was it?
Do they know? Do they know?
No, not that one. It was. It was something along the lines of this. Like it was like, Mr. Russia, please don't shoot down Santa's sleigh. Santa, shoot him! We'll mistake him for a nuke. Anyway, but so yes, there is a dragon détente that Rhaenyra has put out. Her counselors are obviously like, bah, we got the dragons, we should use them. And so obviously that's eventually they're going to just use the dragons. We also get Rhaenyra trying, now that she, there's been a murder, a little kid. She's like, oh boy, my kids are going to be assassination targets. So she has had Rhaena take, basically, look, you're going to be like their surrogate mom, and I want you to take these to Lady Jane Eyre away from here and keep my kids safe.
Yeah, and she was initially kind of insulted by that, but then when she saw that it wasn't just the kids, but also the eggs, the dragon eggs, that she realized exactly how, I think at least it seemed like she started to recognize the importance of what she was doing.
True, although also I think there's also the sense of she says to Rhaenyra, like, oh, my sister gets to stay, Baela gets to stay because she can ride a dragon. Oh, okay, great. But like, so in other words, she hasn't bonded, I guess, with a dragon yet is the idea.
Correct.
But
yeah.
And so there's a little bit of envy there, perhaps. But yeah, I think you're right. I think there was at least a bit of an arc there where she's kind of accepting that this is an important thing to pull off. And of course, those eggs. At least 3. I think there's 4 eggs in that group. Right. At least 3 of them are going to be the 3 eggs that eventually go to Daenerys in Game of Thrones.
That's been speculated.
I think it was even maybe confirmed by the showrunners. I could be wrong on that, but anyway. We also get introduced. So I mentioned back in episode 1, there was this character from the written material, Hugh Hammer.
Sure.
And I mentioned his importance is that, without spoiling everything about him, that he could perhaps ride a dragon. Well, we get introduced to another character with the same possibilities here in this one. That's Ulf the White. He's the guy in the tavern who's like, I'm a Targaryen bastard.
Yeah.
And so, again, his ultimate role will be, if they're looking for dragon riders, he has the potential.
Sure.
But I did really like that scene because he's sitting there just like, and I would, Aegon, blah, blah, and I should be, and I know all this stuff. And then Aegon walks in and sits at a table next to him, and he's like, oh, God, because he's just like, I got to really watch what I say sometimes, because who I am, I could be, lose my, oh, my God, they're here to kill me. I think that's kind of what he was thinking. Like, I talk too loud.
Definitely no one like you was in the writer's room, because the people around him didn't bust his balls at all. They were like, "Oh, don't you want to go over and talk to your nephew over there? Huh?
Right?
Don't you want to say hi to your?"
Hey, look, family! Look, this guy.
Yeah, you gonna ask the king to pick up our tab? Huh?
That's all he did, I guess. But yeah. So yeah, another solid episode. Man, I mean, God bless, the writing is so damn crisp. It's so good. I'm really looking forward to seeing episode 4. So bring it on.
Yeah.
We will be back talking about the Acolyte. We'll be back talking about the Lazarus Project, and of course, we'll be back talking about House of the Dragon.
Oh, of course we will.
Thank you as always, Paul. Appreciate it, good sir.
No problem, man.
And we'll talk to everybody next time.
Bye.
Bye.